In 2011, Mondial set out to create a new take on a popular ride concept. The Starflyer, invented by Funtime, had taken the industry by storm after its debut in 2004. The ride took a regular swing ride and turned it up dramatically by increasing its height and therefore thrill. Starflyers as a ride model will get their own video in the future. These rides did have one notable flaw that limited their adoption in parks: their low capacity. While regular swing rides like Wave Swingers featured densely packed seats with minimal spacing, Starflyers placed rider seats very far from each other, as the high winds at the top of their towers could cause them to collide. This was compounded by the Starflyers using simple chains hung from sweep arms, much like older swing rides. When combined with the ride's naturally long cycle time, this presented a problem for parks that wanted a ride like this, but also needed the capacity of a ride to match its crowd-drawing size. Mondial attempted to solve this problem with the introduction of the WindSeeker in 2011. The WindSeeker features 32 sets of seats. For comparison, the Starflyer varies from ride to ride depending on its size, but usually maxes out at around 16 seats. This makes for a capacity of up to 64 riders per cycle on the WindSeeker when all seats are filled. This made the ride very attractive to parks looking for a ride like the Starflyer, but needing it to be higher capacity. The design of the WindSeeker features several changes and innovations to make this possible. Starting with the tower itself. The extra weight of the doubled number of seats required a larger and stiffer tower than what was used on the Starflyer. Mondial also did not want to infringe on Funtime's patent for the ride. This resulted in them choosing to go with a more traditional hollow steel tower made out of 8 segments. The size of this tower made it prone to resonating frequencies caused by the wind. If this were to go unchecked, the ride could eventually shake itself apart. Mondial addressed this problem with the use of a mass dampener, essentially a very heavy object that is suspended at the very top of the tower. On most WindSeeker rides, this dampener is housed in the large red dome on top of the ride. The WindSeeker model also features a large sweep carousel instead of the more simplified version found on Starflyers. This is primarily to support the extra weight of the added seats. As the seats on WindSeekers are much closer together, they feature a solid steel tube linking them to the sweep carousel rather than the chains that are found on Starflyers. This also adds to the carousel's weight. It was originally thought that the seat's weight would be enough to prevent the swings from colliding on their own, but later incidents resulted in the addition of dampeners between the sweeps. The sweep carousel is pulled to the top of the tower by a quad pulley system. At the base of the sweep carousel sits several tires and electric motors that spin around the base and result in the ride's spinning motion. The sweep carousel can also be fitted with speakers for on-ride audio. Due to the sheer amount of power needed on the sweep carousel for all of this, a large amount of conduit is run through plastic bracing up the side of the tower. The ride features 64 seats, each with their own hydraulically locked lap bar and crotch belt. The ride features seat sensors attached to each seat. All WindSeekers have a minimum height requirement of 48 inches, with some opting for more restrictive minimums. The WindSeeker model took off very quickly thanks to a partnership with Six Flags, then known as Cedar Fair, who purchased 4 of the rides in 2011 for Kings Island, Canada's Wonderland, Cedar Point, and Knott's Berry Farm. They later went on to purchase 2 more of the rides for Carowinds and King's Dominion in 2012. All of these rides are 301 feet or 91 meters tall. All of the original 4 rides experienced some issues, with all of them opening late due to issues during construction. The Canada's Wonderland ride was particularly problematic. The ride was the first of the 4 to start testing, and the seats were found to crash into each other under high winds. Mondial added small dampeners to the ends of the sweep arms on all 4 rides, but problems with excessive swinging persisted. There's even some lost footage from a news broadcast on the Canada's Wonderland ride of the seats crashing while the morning news was live on the ride. This resulted in extensive testing, ending with all of the WindSeekers being fitted with larger dampeners that run between seats, and these can still be noticed on all of the rides today. The rides also ran into issues with stopping and evacuations. Like all amusement rides, WindSeekers may stop during the ride cycle due to minor problems. This is a much larger problem when riders are hundreds of feet in the air, far away from any catwalks or stairs. The original plans for evacuations on the ride were essentially that none should have to occur, as the ride should theoretically always be able to be manually lowered back to the loading platform. After a series of long delays on the Knott's and Cedar Point ride, Mondial introduced an evacuation platform for the rides. This is essentially a large steel arm that can be lifted along the tower to reach riders. Riders can then board the arm and be brought to the ground. To my knowledge, none of these evac platforms have ever actually been used in a real evacuation, but parks with these rides keep them on standby and continue to use them for training if they would ever need to actually be used. The problems with ride stoppages caused enough bad press at Knott's that they opted to remove their ride, which was the only one with a different color scheme as it was in the Fiesta Village section of the park. Their ride would be relocated to Worlds of Fun in 2014, where it still operates as Steel Hawk. Along with this relocation, the ride would be given a traditional WindSeeker color scheme. Cedar Fair did not purchase any more WindSeekers and actually ended up purchasing a Starflyer for another park, Valley Fair, in 2017. Though this park is much less attended than the parks that originally received WindSeekers. One more WindSeeker has been built, that being Storm Chaser at Adventureland. Some rumors suggest that this ride was actually originally intended for Fun Spot Orlando when that park was being designed. But after the project was cancelled, it was purchased by Adventureland in Iowa. Storm Chaser is a much smaller version than the Six Flags / Cedar Fair models, as it's only 260 feet or 79 meters tall. The rider carousel is also smaller, having 16 sweeps instead of 32, negating one of the big advantages of the ride model. The ride has operated at Adventureland since 2014 and remains popular there, as the only non-Six Flags owned WindSeeker. Due to the ride's lower height, this model does not appear to feature the mass dampener found on the Six Flags rides. Many have criticized the WindSeeker for, well, being poorly named. The rides being named WindSeeker has caused some controversy as the rides are notoriously wind sensitive, being one of the first rides at their respective parks to close when wind speeds ramp up. This has resulted in high downtime for the ride model at many parks. Regardless, the rides remain visual spectacles as the Six Flags versions all feature beautiful lighting packages, and they remain a great way to enjoy views of the park. What is your take on the WindSeeker? Do you prefer them to Starflyers? As always, thanks for watching this episode of Flat Ride Friday. If you'd like to see all 20 episodes of Season 3 without having to wait, you can become a channel member and start enjoying them all now. If not, there's no pressure. The next episode will be out next week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.